Hey YouTube, how's it going? Torsar the Barbarian here with another sports talk video. I wanted to make a video today about something I said earlier in the season. Like I said, the Cowboys would not win the NFC East. Well, you know what? I was wrong. They already clinched the division. That's set in stone. They won the NFC East. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of these talking heads on TV and on the internet always get crap for not wanting to admit that they're wrong, or not even not wanting to admit that they're wrong. They just make proclamations, and then later on, those are proven to be wrong, and we never go back and really look at that. They kind of just get to skate free on it, and they're never, no one's really raising their hand too much and going, "Oh, I screwed that one up." But they're very, very ready and willing to, to call out all the things that they were right about. So one of the things I love is when Colin Cowherd does this "Colin was right, Colin was wrong" segment. Because he's one of the few people out there I see that does stuff like that. So I don't want to be one of those guys that just, calls out, "Hey, this is going to happen, this is going to happen," and then never go back to it. I said they weren't going to win the division. I was wrong. I'm not going to double down and triple down like people like Skip Bayless do. Just can't admit he was wrong about stuff and just has to do all these mental gymnastics. And, it's this era of, like I said, doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down instead of just coming out and admitting you were wrong. I don't know why people do that, but hey, that's the era we live in. So I believe in that video that I also said, you know what, I could be wrong, that they might win the division because it was a wide open division at the beginning of the year. And that even if they do, that they're not going to do anything in the playoffs. Now, even that might be kind of up in the air. That's not looking like such a good prediction. Let's look at the standings over here on ESPN.com. So first, I want to look at the AFC. The AFC is so wide open. It's crazy. You could see all these designations. This is what they're all for. E eliminated, Z clinched the division, X clinched playoff berth. Okay, so you could see in the AFC almost everything's up for grabs still. I mean, only the Jets, the Texans, and the Jaguars have officially been eliminated. Everything's still up for grabs in the AFC North. That's kind of crazy. Only the Chiefs have clinched their division. And if you look at the plus minuses or the differential for their total for the season, which I like to look at that can kind of tell you, like, are the Tennessee Titans really a better team than the Indianapolis Colts? Well, the plus minus differential for their season kind of says different. I mean, this week, I hope everyone's enjoying the games. A lot on the line. Next week, it's looking like no matter what happens this week, it's going to be crazy. There's essentially going to be at least a handful of playoff games, if not more. And I think it's just like insane to even get into the playoff scenarios right now, especially in the AFC, because it's got to just be so convoluted. So many teams still have a chance. The Denver Broncos could still make the playoffs, which really, how bad are they? I think people have been sleeping on the Denver Broncos all year. If only they had like a actual NFL QB. No offense to Teddy Bridgewater. I hope he's okay. And I think he wouldn't have been a bad QB if he had never had that major injury. But, man, a plus 38 plus minus. When the team that has a game better record has a negative 71 for the season, that's it's a little crazy. But yeah, the AFC is so open for grabs. The NFC, it's a little bit more streamlined. So you have all the divisions are already set as far as their division winners go, except for the NFC West. But both those teams have clinched playoff berths. You have the Seahawks, Bears, Lions, Giants, Panthers. They're already out of it. The Redskins, they haven't officially been eliminated. But you could see, I mean, how much better are they really any better than the Giants? Look at that overall plus minus for the season. It's just in line with the other bad teams. Besides Seattle, which it's kind of crazy to see a team with a 5-10 record, and for the entire season they have a -1. All right, but let's go back. You see the Dallas Cowboys have the second best plus minus for the whole season, behind the Buffalo Bills. And their defense, I'll have to admit, who at the beginning of the year thought that Micah Parsons, most people knew he was probably going to be a pretty good player, but challenging for the defensive player of the year, that's kind of crazy, man. That guy's having an insane season. And sometimes on the defense, they brought in Dan Quinn from the Falcons instead of Mike Nolan. And they seem to have, with a few, Micah Parsons, Diggs playing well, new coaching, new system. They seem to have completely flipped the defense around. It's very impressive, and it kind of gives me a little apprehension from making any calls about how the Cowboys are going to do Cowboys things in the playoffs and just not make it. Now, I still don't believe in Dak Prescott as an elite franchise QB. He's just never put together a string of consistent games. People like to point to his numbers all the time. He's got so many garbage time stats. If you took out all his garbage time stats, like you look at that Denver Broncos game, they were down 30-0. He stayed in the game, and I think in the fourth quarter or later on, he got a bunch of passing yards and 2 TDs, and they had no chance whatsoever to win that game. He's just got game after game after game like that where they fall behind by large amounts. And I'm not just talking this year, but all throughout his career. And, the teams start playing prevent defense. They start, giving up chunk yardage. And Dak, he's compiled a lot of garbage time stats. So don't give me the stats on Dak. He's got to prove it in the playoffs. Once these guys have done it in the regular season, put up the stats, are on a good team with a good roster, you have to prove it in the playoffs. It's going to be the same thing for Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. All right, it's going to be the same thing with Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady doesn't have to prove a damn thing. To most people, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to prove a damn thing. So besides the teams, you could see the Eagles, I guess the Redskins, especially, I think they're currently beating the Eagles right now, but the Redskins, if they can, somehow, win out, the Vikings, the Falcons, the Saints, the 49ers, they're all vying for those last few playoff berths. Those last three, they have 3 wild card spots now. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams for 3 spots. So you could see the Eagles and the 49ers have a leg up on that right now. And one of these teams is going to probably make the playoffs, maybe with an under 500 record. Because it's impossible unless you have a tie. It's impossible to finish with a 500 record now. You're either going to be 8-9 or 9-8. So it looks like an 8-9 team might just make it, depending on what happens next week. Again, I'm not going to get into the scenarios because it's just too crazy. There's that many teams that are that close that you're literally going to have to wait until next week to see how all these week's games pan out, and then it'll be a little bit more clear. The Vikings have to play the Packers tonight. That's going to be a tough one. Now, as far as that number 1 seed goes, you could see that the Cowboys are still in contention for that. They're 11-4. The Packers are 12-3. Packers have a tough game tonight. Now, I didn't realize this till I just looked at it, but the Packers are undefeated at home this year. Now, they used to have an aura of invincibility in Lambeau in the playoffs. That was the place where teams went to die in the playoffs. And Eli Manning pretty much disproved that. He did it to him twice in Lambeau throughout his career. And that kind of broke that aura of invincibility. And, since then, Tom Brady did it to him last year. That they've just kind of lost that over the last years. Now, that doesn't mean that it's still an easy place to go and win a playoff game. And seeing that they're 7-0 this year at home, it's going to be really tough for anyone, even Tom Brady or the Matthew Stafford or Dak, to just go into Lambeau if the Packers have that first round bye, and then every playoff game, if they keep winning, is going to be in Lambeau Field. It's going to be a really tough place to play. So I think that Dallas, they're going to keep playing it out. I got a buddy who's an Eagles fan. He was kind of hoping that maybe the last game of the year they'd be in a position where they were going to be resting players, and that might be kind of a gimme game for the Eagles. That's not going to be the case, and I told him so. I said, no, they're still in contention for that number 1 seed, and even if not, I think getting the 2 seed over having the 3rd seed, or even if they could still get the 4th seed, because you look at all the division winners, it's not like there's a division leader that's 9-6 like in the AFC, and they don't have to worry, well, we're definitely not going to be the 4th seed. No, the Cowboys could still be the 1st seed, and they could still be the 4th seed. And you can't just say, well, it doesn't matter too much, we're going to have a couple home playoff games. No, well, what if the Green Bay Packers lose in the second round of the playoffs and you get the number 2 seed? That means that the NFC Championship game is going to be played in Dallas. So I don't see a scenario where Dallas is going to be resting anyone next week. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have to be playing a full strength Dallas team, unfortunately for them. But yeah, it should be interesting. It should be good. And I'm not even going to sit here and say that the Cowboys aren't going to do anything, because you know what? It kind of gets to the point where it's the reverse of a dead clock is right twice a day kind of thing, where you could just keep making the same prediction, and eventually you're going to be right. Well, you could do the same thing on the opposite side of the Cowboys. You could just keep making the same prediction, and over the last 25 years, there's not even been a time where you would have been wrong twice a day. You're going to be right every single time, and after a little while, it's like, all right, well, what kind of prediction is that even? Let's just let this playoffs play out. As much as I can't stand the Dallas Cowboys, there's actually a part of me that would like to see them make the NFC Championship game, maybe versus the Packers or the Bucks, or whoever else makes it. No matter how you feel about them, they're a very popular team. They draw in the ratings, and that would be a very hyped game. I'd like to see someone. I think the Eagles could be a dangerous team in the NFC. I even think the Vikings could still be a dangerous team in the NFC. And again, you look at it, this differential for the season is a very telling stat. Plus 80, Philadelphia. Plus 12, Minnesota. That means they're decent teams. They may not be a good team, but they're not garbage, okay? They're decent teams. And this should be very exciting. At the moment, if I had to call it, I'd probably have to say, a rematch of the NFC Championship game from last year with Green Bay and Tampa Bay. In the AFC, it's a little bit more up in the air. A lot of people are liking the Colts. I mean, you pretty much have to pick the Chiefs to get back there, right? I mean, that where we were all doubting them earlier in the year, that kind of looks silly now. And I don't know, man. People are so quick to get on board with the Bills, and I don't know. I don't see it. So I'd probably have to say it'd be Kansas City versus Indianapolis at the moment. And you could see the plus minus Indianapolis plus 104. That's one of the better plus minuses in the league. But we shall see. It should be an interesting couple of weeks. Essentially, these week's games are playoff games for a lot of teams. Next week's games are essentially playoff games for a lot of teams. I can't remember it really being this wide open. I think that extra game, as much as some people didn't like it, it's kind of added in a little bit of a spark. The playoffs are actually, it seems kind of weird that they're not going to be starting next week already. We still have it's January 2nd, and we still are going to have another week of the regular season next week. So this is something all of us are getting used to, and you know what? I'm afraid to say, but the Dallas Cowboys doing something in the playoffs might be something new that we all have to get used to. But, as usual, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Like the video, dislike it, leave a comment, drop a sub if you want to see more comment. I appreciate any view, any comment, any with any sort of intelligence whatsoever. You know, obviously if you just go in and say, "Oh, the Cowboys are poop." Okay, well, all right. Whatever. But besides that, hope everyone's enjoying football this week. If you're watching this after Sunday, hope your team did well. Hope you have something to look forward to next week. Enjoy the games next week. And I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, bye.